You're listening to Conversation Kingz with Dominic Emerson, only on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Conversation Kingz. I am your host, Dominic Emerson, here live on LA Talk Radio. And as always, like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can find all of the Conversation Kingz content on LA Talk Radio. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Will Moreland, who wrote a book called Genius Potential, right? If you're trying to become the best that you can be and reach your genius level, then you definitely want to get this book by Dr. Will Moreland called Genius Potential. I've been reading this book and it's helped me to dig into certain areas where I find that I have to pull certain things out from myself in order to reach my true genius, right? So today on our show, on the Conversation Kingz, I have the great pleasure of talking to someone who has a background in social work. She also deals with mental health in our community, Miss Kayla Williams. Welcome to the Conversation Kingz, Kayla Williams.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a perfect month to talk about social work.
It definitely is. This is Social Workers Month?
Yes, it is.
So we're right on time with having Kayla Williams on. For those who are following or listening or going to watch the recap, could you let them know who is Kayla Williams and what is she all about as far as social work?
Sure, of course. Well, hello. I am Kayla Williams. I am an associate clinical social worker. I currently work in the greater Los Angeles area currently for an agency contracted through the Department of Mental Health. I was born and raised in South Central LA. I attended First Church of God, went to St. Bernard High School. For undergrad, went to LMU, Loyola Marymount, and then found my way back for my master's, where I received my master's of social work at Cal State Dominguez Hills. So I've always been kind of working with the community, and that's kind of led me to where I am now with wanting to give back in the form of mental health.
Definitely. So as far as growing up in South Central Los Angeles or Southern California, Los Angeles, did that kind of push you towards wanting to help the community? You saw a lot of mental health aspects in Los Angeles and you wanted to go to school and pursue it and come back and help those in that area?
Ironically, my undergrad degree was in communication studies. So when I originally went to college, I graduated in 2005 from high school. I had no idea that I wanted to do social work. I just knew that whatever my purpose was connected to interaction with people, interaction with the community, people that look like me and you. And so originally wanting to get into radio, ironically, I was interning and working with KJLH with the beautiful Ade Lamar and Nautica De La Cruz. And nice. It kind of just led me to then I lost my job around that time, which was interesting. And around my mom said, have you ever thought about social work? She's actually a licensed clinical social worker.
Oh, nice.
Yes. A family of just helping professionals. My stepdad is a probation officer. So it was kind of just there already. And it led to that path where she said, maybe you should think about applying for your social work degree. And I did it. And ironically, I only applied to Dominguez. So that was really working on faith. I was like, I don't have time for none of this. If this is what I'm supposed to do, they better let me in.
Right.
So, I went in 2017, got accepted and graduated with my master's of social work from Cal State Dominguez Hills in 2020. Didn't have a graduation, which was salty. But it kind of also, with learning more about it, I started to realize the stigma associated with social work and how I was kind of playing into it as well prior to my knowledge.
Right.
And so I wanted to help people where they didn't think that social work was just this therapy phenomenon where you're sitting on this couch, you're talking to this old white lady, this old white man that don't even know what street you grew up in, what neighborhood you know. So I wanted to be the face where someone can look at someone that looks like them and know the neighborhoods that they come from, and then think of social work, think of therapy in a different light.
That's beautiful, because that's what our community needs to see. Someone like yourself and myself that they can relate to and say, okay, I understand, and they understand where I come from, the streets where I come from.
Exactly.
So as far as a social worker and working in the community, what type of mental health have you come across in that aspect of working with them?
For my job, because I've encountered it obviously in different ways. For my job, I work with children specifically. And because of that, I am an intensive therapist too. So I'm dealing with people that are dealing with the craziest things. Sometimes I'm on call for crisis. So I might get a call at 12 a.m. I got to go out, make sure. And working with children now, it's mainly once they are placed or have experienced some trauma, I'm brought in to help them find coping skills in dealing with that. So I know a lot of people, they like, oh, you're a social worker, so you must be the girl that take all the kids away. No. I don't want to take nobody kids away. Please keep your kids. Right. Do what you need to do to keep your kids, please.
Right.
But more so, I wanted to be the person that made a difference after the fact, regardless if your kids was taken away or you recently received them back again, to get them back acclimated to whatever the home environment is, to get them used to, okay, yeah, this trauma and this incident may have occurred, but what do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? Or even sometimes medication, which I also make referrals for because I'm not a psychiatrist, which I'm unable to do, which I'll explain later, where you got to figure out what it is that you need. And so that's what's important. But just to explain the difference of social work. So social work is a big umbrella. You can do anything. You have counselors. You can be in the school. You can be in different departments within the county. You can be in prisons. I actually have some good friends that want to get into social work in prisons. I actually did an internship. You could do medical social work in hospitals.
I've seen some of them.
Yeah, that was probably the hardest I ever did. You have the social workers where they are you have sports psychologists, which is actually a future goal of mine, that talk to different athletes and make sure that a lot of times when athletes go through injuries, it's hard for them to bounce back.
Right.
And so social work in that, which people didn't experience or know about. And then you have like the other side where you have like the licensed marriage and family therapists. You have the licensed professional counselors, which we kind of all do the same thing. But from my knowledge, social work is just a broader umbrella that we can do much more with. And right now I've realized that my target population is TAY, is what we call it, which is transitional age youth, which is usually preteens to young adults. And that group is, I personally just like them. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a definite help, especially if you grab them in their youthful age, right? It's a secret about me that I really don't share a lot. But when I was younger, I actually was a mental health counselor.
Interesting.
And I was going to school to get my mechanical engineering degree, right? So I worked at Kedron off of Avalon, and I think that's Vernon.
Yeah,
I worked at Starview and some other things. So I definitely know where you're coming from in that aspect. And what I noticed was a lot of social workers didn't really care. They were there for the money. What brings you passion as far as being a social worker?
Well, it's definitely not the money. No. It's more so with any job and profession, honestly, though. But to connect it to your question, you have to be passionate about what you do. And I've had plenty of jobs. My resume, it has a plethora of things that I have tried, did, all connected to community involvement, though. But this is the first time since I've graduated my master's that I genuinely like what I do, where and that's important. I want to get up every morning and say, hey, I want to see these kids. I want to talk to them. I want them to feel the same way about me, you know, where they don't want to miss sessions and things like that. So what brought me really to this is just seeing kids that looked like me. And I keep going back to that. And when they see me, it's just a light goes off. It's like almost where they feel like everything is okay. And for that reason is why it led me to that, where I can see a direct, how can I say it, where I can actually see what I'm doing. You know, I can, and that's one thing with the job is where you can see the progression, you can see the improvement in different clients. You can see the decrease, you know, where the negative symptoms, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes my style or my approach is not the most effective for certain people. So, but overall, that's what brought me to the field, is just genuinely wanting to help and people not feeling like they're crazy for receiving therapy. Because that's literally what Black and brown people believe. You know, it's even in my household, you know, you got grannies that's like, oh, okay, like, nah, I ain't about to go talk. I ain't crazy. Ain't nothing wrong with me. You know, like, I'm going to call the crazy people. It's just in their minds, they assume you about to get the straight jacket. You about to get medicated. It's over. Life is over. But it's not like that. And so I just want people to hear and know different sides of social work and not suffer in silence because you're embarrassed because of your lack of knowledge, because that's what it boils down to, is your lack of knowledge in terms of how therapy works and how social work works.
Right. And that's a definite fact, because even when I was younger and we thought social worker, we automatically thought them were the people that come take you out the home. Them were the people that bring the straight jackets, right? Them were the people, and that's the psyche that we have when we talk about or think about social work, right?
Yes.
So what is the differential impact that a social worker can make on the community as far as like mental health? Like, what is the great impact that social workers have on our community?
Well, it also depends on what level you want to go into. So they have micro and they have macro levels of social work. So micro is what I'm doing, where I'm direct line staff. I'm right in the community. I'm in the trenches. I'm really working with the people, which still means that I'm still doing some resources, connecting to resources, some advocating. That's a big part of my job, is advocating, which I don't play about. Like, and my clients know that. I'll go toe to toe with anybody if you need this. And the macro level, which is the laws, the change making on that level. So that is where you just decide which level you want to go into to make change. But to be honest, I feel like those that want to get on a macro level, for the most part, start off on micro, because it's kind of hard to know the laws or the things that's affecting the different geographic locations and communities if you're not working with them. So if you just skip that step and just go try to change laws, how do you know what's affecting the people in the community? So for example, my office is located in the heart of Watts. Black and brown communities. Lack of resources, everything. So with that, if you don't talk to those people and you just go and decide, I'm just going to make some laws. Yeah, they need this because I don't see any activities over here and I don't see this. Who is to say that that's even their underlying need right now? They might not even be tripping off of sports, you know, they can, and they mind fuck sports.
No, seriously. Like, I got a lot going on.
Exactly. Where's our farmers markets? Where are our connection to police with mental health, which is another side of things, because social workers have now been able to get paired with police officers. So to decrease the amount of violence when it is a mental health situation. A lot of law enforcement, they are not trained to handle those with mental health issues. And it range. You can have someone who is a high functioning person who has been diagnosed with anxiety or depression. A lot of people actually have undiagnosed anxiety and undiagnosed depression. I don't mind admitting I realized I diagnosed myself, but
Me too.
I know I have anxiety. I overthink.
Right.
And I know where it comes from. I also have seasonal depression that stems from the loss of my father and just different things. So it's a lot of things in realizing what exactly the people need. And that's what's important, connecting with the people, being the voice of the people. And another thing I've realized and what I think is important is that when social workers are brought into these different arenas, because we are needed and we're rising up the scale, but try to be culturally competent. Try to be aware. And they changed the term of that. I think it's called culturally humble now, because you can never be totally knowledgeable about a certain culture. But be aware of the people that you're working with. And that right there will make the biggest difference. No matter if you're in the school, the prison, the whatever. Know the demographic that you're working with. Yes. And don't just assume, because I've ran into some people where they've like, oh, we're in a Black and brown community and I'm gonna save the world, and look, I have my nice little social work sweater on and I'm gonna come out here and do, and it's like, nah, bruh, you already starting off bad because you have not even connected to the people on a level that makes them trust you. That's a big factor with social workers' trust. And let's be honest, with Black and brown people, we don't trust the system.
Right. That's a fact. That's a definite fact. You know?
So it's a lot of times I have to work through that. My pitch is, I'm not your enemy. I'm here to help you. More often than not, because of my job, they have to see me. And that's the difference as well, is that it's involuntary.
Right. And a lot of people don't understand the helpfulness of social workers, and as far as the mental health aspect. And I heard you talk about the Black and the brown, right? And it's such a true fact that in our community, we have so much underlying mental health issues that we don't really want to come out and say, hey, look, I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that. How can it benefit a person if they go down and see a social worker about their mental health? Because most people think, if I go down and see a mental health professional, a social worker, they're going to lock me up for 72 hours. They're going to put me in a 72-hour hold. I'm just saying, they're going to put me in a 72-hour hold. I'm going to get some medication. But what is the real true benefits if I'm dealing with something coming down to see a social worker?
The stages of it, first, I would say, is be accountable. Realize that something is going on, that you do need to talk to someone about something. The next step is deciding if it's something that is just occurring right now, or is this something that has been going on? Is it going to present itself where it's going to be an ongoing issue, an ongoing concern for you? Then the third thing I think I would think about is, do you want the help?
Right. Do you really want the help?
Important. So do you, now that you establish that, okay, something wrong with me, it's been here for a while, I don't know where it's going to go, do I even want the help? Once you decide that you want the help, be honest about it. I think that's another part. I admit, I've been, not only am I a therapist, I've been to therapy. I've had a therapist. I'm not in it currently, but I'm not embarrassed to say it. And it helped me a lot.
Me either.
And
definitely,
I was honest about the therapist that I chose. I knew I didn't need medication, which sometimes people don't know off bat, but I didn't need medication. So I knew I didn't need to necessarily see a psychiatrist who prescribes medication and is able to diagnose with different mental health issues in a DSM. But I realized that I needed to talk to someone, and I wanted someone who looked like me. And so when I made my choices, I needed someone Black off top. I don't care how it sounded.
No. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, because for us, it's like, if you've never walked on this side of the track or have an understanding of this side of the track, I don't think that you can actually help me because you may not understand, you know. And it's a big thing for us to go out and speak to a social worker or a therapist, somebody that's going to actually help us. But like you said, we have to be willing to just let our guards down, right? And I'm gonna speak on the men aspect of it, right? Because us as men, I'm strong. I don't need to go out and talk to nobody. I got this, right? Deep down inside, we're breaking down because I had anxiety and a little slight depression after my father passed, right? Because that was my go-to guy, right? That was my go-to. Right. That was like, I could go talk to Pops about anything and everything. But the thing is, we have to get over that and get past that if we're going to continue to build ourselves as a community and as a whole. So as far as social workers go, you know, I see a lot more out in the community, you know, now than I did when I was actually growing up. And I think that's a positive. And I know you had, I seen a post that you posted, right? And I think it said something about 200,000 social workers or something like that. So that lets me know that it's growing. Even in relationships, we have like mental health issues that we need to take care of. Because there's no red flags just popping up on people's shoulders, right? There's no red flags and people walking around waving red flags. So in a relationship, how helpful is it for someone to, before they actually get longer in the relationship, to come talk to a social worker about their mental health and get those things taken care of?
Woo! That's a piece right there. That probably take the whole rest of the show. It's very important. And ironically, I don't think a lot of people realize that they need help and can benefit from social workers until they are in relationships, regardless if they are platonic or romantic. I can speak for myself. I've been in different relationships and I'm like, oh, it might be me, y'all. let me go back to the drawing board and figure out some things that might have got miscrossed. So it definitely shows up in relationships, and I think that's why a lot of people should take it seriously. And I think that's when a lot of people realize that they do have issues with themselves because they might have been masking it, like you said, especially men. And I'm not gonna, come down on men. I'm just saying it in the sense of the genetic makeup of a man,
right?
You know, especially again, I keep talking about because it's important. Where Black people, brown too, but Black people, we're Black men. You guys are raised with just a hardcore exterior. No one rarely tends to that interior. That little boy, it's a lot of little boys and grown Black men right now that are struggling and they can't say shit. They can't do shit. And, and here they are now. They didn't have the nerve to have kids. they raising sons themselves. They're raising daughters and they're married. And it's like, oh, baby, you might need to go talk to somebody. And the reason why I would encourage everyone to honestly, even if it's just a few sessions, encourage everyone just to seek a therapist, because that's another word for social worker, is just to find out more about yourself, find out your decision making. And I bet you it will change your outlook on relationships, how you operate in relationships. A lot of the times we're defensive. That defensiveness as a human being comes from trauma. Something happened that has your guard up. And a lot of times for relationships, we just speak on, because that man did me wrong or that woman did this.
Right.
No, baby, it's deeper than that. Because how did we even get to this point? It seems like something that we probably shouldn't even think that deep. It's not even that deep. Well, no, baby, it is that deep. Because how people operate in relationships are based off of their relationship with their parents. And me and my friend group, we've been talking about that lately in terms of how our relationships with our parents are transpiring, not only in how we're parenting our children, but how we're showing up in these different relationships, regardless if they are platonic or romantic. And it's people make decisions and operate in a manner that is detrimental to not only themselves, but to other people, but they are not even knowledgeable about it. They don't even know. And there's different ranges to it. You might be the person that just need 8 sessions and you're fine for a little bit of time. Or you might be the person where you have a dual diagnosis and you might need a little bit more. You might need some group therapy. You might need some family sessions where they bringing in the trenches and your support system. You might be the person where medication helps you. It's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
So that's where I feel like where therapist shows itself up in different areas, especially relationships. And I think for myself that I can speak on, therapy has mainly helped me. Of course, it has helped me in my romantic relationships, but in how I parent my son. That is where it has helped me. And not only parent him as being his mother, how I parent him being a young Black boy growing up in South Central, how I parent him with his father. That's a whole nother level in conversation.
Right.
That therapy, I can admit, helped me with in terms of how I interact with him, even though the relationship is no longer, and how I deal with different men and how I deal with different women based off of my different background. So, yeah.
Right. And that really truly helps, right? And even us as men, right? We have daddy issues as well. We having a conversation, right?
Y'all don't talk about that, though.
We have daddy issues. We won't admit it, but that little boy inside of us, we yearn for a father figure in our lives. So now we only have mama take care of us, and so we don't know how to really speak out and let our emotions out because we didn't have that real father figure to teach us how to let those things come out and how to express ourselves. The men that might have been around us probably just told us, boys don't cry, suck that shit. Quit crying. Good over there. It damaged us more than it helped us. And see, if we had like real true father figures that let us express ourselves and showed us how to express ourselves to our mates in a relationship, we might be a whole lot further as a people.
But we can't even fault them. And this is a conversation I'm happy that we're having because this brings up something that social workers deal with, generational trauma. You can't expect your father to teach you something that he did not know himself.
Come on now.
No,
I'm about to pass the plate around here. Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen.
No, for real. And to kind of connect it back to the relationship piece, it's a lot of women, myself included. I was one of them where we're like, oh, I want this man and I want him to have this and I want him to be like my dad because my dad in most women eyes, our dad is he right under God, so we're like, oh, I want him to be like this and be like that. You already going up an uphill battle with this man because this man he's still struggling himself.
Right.
He's trying to be, and then don't bring kids into it. So then he's trying to not only figure out how to be himself, but be himself with you. Be himself as a father and figure out in terms of what he learned from his father, what he's going to take and what he's not going to take. A new thing that, excuse me, I've been kind of talking about since you mentioned daddy issues. On the flip side, for women, they talk about daddy issues a lot, but it's more so highlighted in a negative light. I think, and not only for women, but for men too, but it shows itself more for women. You have good daddy issues and you have bad daddy issues.
Right.
And I guess for the opposite for men, you have good mommy issues, and you have bad mommy issues.
Right.
So
Definitely.
When it comes to dating, I can say for myself, I consider myself to have good daddy issues. Now, what I mean by that is even though I grew up in a household that was divorced, my father was active. You couldn't tell from the outside that he was not in the home. Right. He did everything. No matter what I did, I could have just went up on stage and said good morning, and that was it. He was gonna come, flowers, balloons. My picture was gonna be on his shirt. He was gonna be there. He don't care. And so, and I saw that was my first image and epitome of a man. He could change anything. He was an aircraft technician. So he was very good with his hands. I know anything where changing a tire, barbecuing, whatever it was, that a man, he did that.
Right.
Now, he had his fair share of other issues, like we all do as human beings.
Right.
But when it came to relationships, I realized that I was looking for that person in other people. And this generation of men are different. And I had to be honest with.
Yes, totally.
I didn't have bad daddy issues in the sense of I don't know how to treat a man. I don't know how to talk to him and all the other stuff that social media highlights and talks about women and puts us down for, where it's a group of us, excuse me, that have good daddy issues where we're trying to figure out where we know our generation of Black men are struggling.
Right.
We know the generation is different, but we still have this image of what a man is supposed to be in our head. So how do we bridge the gap? How do we bring it together, especially with these are the same fathers who raised these men too, who dealt with issues that went unaddressed. So it's a lot of things in that.
It's a lot.
It really is. And it seems like, okay, well, it's probably not that deep, but no, like it really is. If you really just take the time to just dig deep, find out about yourself. And that's what therapy is too. People be like, I don't want to go talk to someone. What can they tell me? They don't know what I've been through. All I need is money. That's if I have money, and I get that one, preach. Trust me, I know. It will solve a lot of issues. But let's be honest, it's some of the people in the world right now struggling mentally. Why? Because money don't solve everything.
Right. That's a definite.
So it's other issues going on internally in our bodies that we're not addressing, and we're realizing why other areas, other relationships, other things are falling apart is because it's going unaddressed. And that's what's important in terms of finding out why you make the decisions that you made. I'm pretty sure, and I don't mean any disrespect with this, if a lot of people probably went to therapy when the thought first popped into their head, it probably wouldn't be as many relationships there are now. A lot of these kids probably wouldn't have been born. Right. Because we would have realized that, hey, maybe we're not compatible, or maybe we need some time. We're not there yet. I got some issues in being honest with them. And my walk, being honest with people is what has helped me. I come to the place recently where I've had to have real, raw, authentic conversations with people that I never thought I would have.
Those be the best, though.
Man, you don't know. I tried to run away from it, everything. And the Lord kept saying, no. He kept spinning me around like, oh, you think you about to avoid this convo? Nope. Here you go again. Here they are again. And once
you get it off and get it out.
Exactly. And that's what therapy helped me with, where I was able to apologize to people that all this time I'm sitting there like, I'm waiting on my apology. Where's my apology? You did this, and in which they did, but I had to be honest about my contribution to things.
Right.
Now I'm aware of triggers. I'm aware of the word trigger, the word trauma, where I'm like, well, shit, when I did this, I probably triggered that person. I'm not even realizing it. And then their reaction triggered me. And now here it is, it's just competitive.
But every action is a reaction.
Exactly. So it definitely takes a lot. I just want people to really just be open. It's different platforms too that you can find therapists on. A lot of jobs people don't know about. And even though I'm a therapist, my job offers free sessions for a limited amount of time. But depending on what your issue is, they'll give you a certain amount of sessions. a lot of jobs do that. Look into it. Check with your HR because we're stressed out at these jobs too.
Yeah.
So talk to your HR rep, say, hey, do we have any resources to connect to therapists? And then if they do have that, be honest about what it is that you want. Do you care about their race? Do you care about their age? Do you care about where they're located? After COVID, that changed how therapy looked. We're able to do telehealth sessions. Therapy has always been in person,
I saw that,
It kind of takes away from from the connection, but now that's a new avenue that people have. So it is right there, and don't feel embarrassed. More often than not, a lot of people have been to therapy and just ain't said shit.
Nah, 9 times out of 10, yes. And it's like, I can keep this to myself. And sometimes that's a good thing, so that way it's not embarrassing. But in relationship wise, and parenting and everything, like we're talking about, like I knew that I had mother issues, because I'm like, dang, I got that many uncles. So when I grew up, I was like, oh, women are, this way, and I had to get over that and get through that therapeutically, right?
Yes.
But it took a lot because that was my vision. Nah, it's MOB. You know what I'm talking about. And it was hurtful for me, not for the woman, because I wasn't complete and I wasn't whole, but that wasn't something that was in our community for us to be taught, right? Or those avenues. And it was shameful for us to go see a therapist or something like that. People look down on us, not knowing that we need social workers. We need therapists. We need, especially in our community, because right now, and I say this all the time, right? And I love the fact that you said you deal with young people, with the youth. There's no real outlet for them in this day and age. So they see so much, and the internet is so fast. It's a speed of light,
man,
that it's tearing away their youth.
Yes.
So as far as dealing with the youth and the relationships and everything like that, where can the people contact you if they just want to say, hey, look, I'm looking to see how can I get a therapist, I can get some help. Where can they contact you at?
Sure. So you can reach out to me on social media, primarily Instagram, MZKayla725. My page is private though, but just reach out. I check messages and then we can go from there. People come to me all the time. Hey, I need recommendations for therapists.
Right.
I'll send it to them. Like, hey, what are you looking for exactly? Are you looking for females, males? You don't care. And I send them a lot of pages. That is the benefit to the social media piece that you spoke about, is because we are able to connect and network and send out referrals like, hey, this is this person's page. This is what they do. This is what they're trained in, because some social workers are trained in different modalities and different areas and whatnot. And so can definitely reach out to me on that. Definitely also a big tool is Psychology Today online. Go on there.
Check that out.
The best tool. You also see if they're licensed. That's important. You want to check confidentiality. Look at their picture. See if you're going to want to sit in a room or on a computer and talk to someone that look like that.
Right.
See what they're able to do. So Psychology Today, and then feel free to reach out to me via social media if you need any resources or connections or anything like that.
And that's a definite big help, that if they're able to reach out to you and you can recommend them and send them in a direction, right?
Yes.
So that way they can get whatever they're going through, they can get help with that, right? And so what is the healing benefit of being a social worker that somebody like myself, just say I came off the street and I needed some mental health and I saw a social worker, what is the healing aspect of it for me as a client? What could I receive is what I'm asking.
Okay. Definitely it will be a respect factor. You're going to receive someone that is a support system. That's what social work is. It's a system of networks. So you might come to me and feel like you had no one. By the time I finish talking to you, you're going to realize you probably had 2 people in your corner that you overlooked the whole time. on top of the other people that I'm going to connect you with, you know. So that is where you're going to find out. You're going to realize that you're not alone. You're going to realize that you're not the only person with this diagnosis. There's other people that's dealing with this same exact thing. You're also going to feel confident in it. A lot of people feel like that, okay, once I start and admit this, then it's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. You're fine.
Right.
You're a human being. It's not our favorite word is not uncommon. A lot of things that people assume like that is rare. A lot of people are dealing with it.
Right. Because I thought it was just me dealing with anxiety and those little. I love what you said, seasonal anxiety, right? Because when certain things trigger us,
yes,
right. So you said triggers, and I do believe that certain things, sights, sounds, smells of something, it will trigger our anxiety or our depression in a certain area, right?
Yes.
And for us as a people, I'm talking about Black people, we're visual.
Yes.
You know, we're very visual. So what could someone who has like a mental illness and everything like that, if they come into there and they see you and everything like that, is there like anything after that they do, like, because I don't know that part of it. Like after I come see you from how many sessions, you know, because some people may be like, dang, I just been cut off. I did 8 sessions and that's it. That's all I was allowed. Is there anything else after that, after the program?
Well, for my job itself, that's totally different than how regular therapy works. And because they are referred to me either DCFS, probation, school. And so your typical just 8 sessions is more so based off of observing a decrease in the negative symptoms and behaviors. And then me deciding as a clinician and with my team, does this person still qualify for intensive services or not? Can I recommend them to graduate from the program where they don't need services at all right now? Because things happen where you might need services again 6 months later. But right now, he's fine, he or she is fine. Or I make the recommendation where they're no longer intensive, they have made progress. I'm going to make a referral to a lower level of care where now they don't have so many people dealing with them. It's just one person. Now, outside of my job and what I do, if you have a therapist, the thing with having a clinician ethically should not just end a session or end sessions or services just because, oh, this is 10 weeks and we're done.
That's what I'm talking about.
Now, let's be honest too, everything is still money-based. Now, so if it is still kind of something where this was a program put out through, like, for example, the Department of Mental Health or the Department of Public Health, and that's what they allocated for, then yes, you have those sessions. But outside of that, ethically, you should still be able to see your clinician, your therapist, until you feel like, or until they feel like you're at a level where they feel confident enough to kind of throw you out there. And so what they may do is, for example, where we might be meeting every week, once a week, if I start to see, okay, it's some progress and I want to try to see now what they have learned, are they able to implement the skills and the tools that we've been going over for the last 8 sessions? I'm now going to decrease the session. So now we're going to meet twice a month instead of 4 times a month. So ethically and legally, there are rules we have to follow in terms of services. So that's very important. And no one should just abruptly stop any services, especially mental health, because that can fall back on us. We can get subpoena for court. We can, we can be questioned anything in terms of what may happen. We are mandated reporters. So yeah, so we do have to report any elderly abuse, child abuse, neglect, any of that. We are required to call.
Definite. This is the Conversation Kings. I'm your host, Dominic Emerson, here on LA Talk Radio, and I'm talking to Kayla Williams, who's a social worker, mental health, and this is Social Worker Month. And I just want to ask you, is there any inspirational words, anything like that you want to give to the people who may be going through anything with mental health that need to see a social worker, or you just want to give them something that's going to inspire them and motivate them to go ahead and sit down and make that move to go talk to a social worker?
Of course, the first thing, you're not alone. You're not alone. Please go seek help before it's too late. reach out. There are different resources. Social work is becoming more mainstream. It's becoming more known. So please reach out to anyone that you feel like may know about social work or therapy, and please get the help. And a saying that I stand on, I learned in college, is actually a West African term called Sankofa. And you can't move forward without looking back. And that is very important in life, because as much as people try to get away from their past, regardless if it's negative or positive, if you forget that, how do you apply it to your future? Right. And so to connect that to social work, we've all been through things. They made us who we are. It molded us into who we are. But we cannot forget that to move forward. So take those things and then use it as fuel to move forward.
Right. That's beautiful. That's great inspiration. You know, this is the Conversation Kings. I'm your host, Dominic Emerson, with Miss Kayla Williams. And as always, you know, knowledge is power. So we share this knowledge. So it's all power to the people. And I want to thank you for coming on and being a guest on the Conversation Kings. And let us continue to be about our Father's business. Once again, before we end, let them know how they can reach you.
Yeah, so I am on Instagram. You can reach me at M as in Mary, Z as in Zebra, Kayla as my name, 725. I'm on Instagram. Feel free to follow me, and I will definitely connect you guys to any kind of resources you may possibly need. Thank you for having me, Dominic. I'm happy to talk about social work in a different light than what people are used to.
Right.
Hopefully this won't be the first time, and we can continue to put the word out there, because our people need the help.
Oh, you're definitely going to come back on as a guest. It was great talking to you. Great information for myself that I can actually share to other people as well, too, because we need to put the spotlight more on social workers, because y'all are actually, a lot of people are on the front line, and y'all don't get the just due that you deserve. So I want to give you your flowers now. That's why I want you to come on, right? And I thank you for coming on and being a part of the show. This is the Conversation Kings. I'm your host, Dominic Emerson, with Kayla Williams, the great social worker, and we gone. Thank you once again.
You're listening to Conversation Kings with Dominic Emerson, only on LA Talk Radio.